Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to be live with you guys. I know I'm normally live on Wednesdays, so I messed up the schedule just a little bit this week. And I apologize about that. You guys know I am the most punctual person usually, but I have been in the Dominican Republic on quite an amazing trip, I must say. And unfortunately, the Wi-Fi there was in and out. I'm sharing this into my group right now. So if you're in Socially Awesome Entrepreneurs, my free Facebook community, we're streaming live there. We're streaming live on Instagram. We're on TikTok, and we're on my Facebook business page. So again, really excited to be here with you guys. Today, we're going to talk about two types of messaging you need to drive sales in your business. So stick with me till the end, because I'm going to teach you a little bit about the messaging and how important it is in your content in order for you to get sales in your business. Okay. And again, I apologize. I know it's Friday and I'm a little stuffy here, but traveling with the Wi-Fi was not working. It was in and out. We had AC problems. We had Wi-Fi problems. It was just a disaster. But a disaster for me to try to go live at the same time. So I did mess up my schedule a little bit, but I appreciate you being here and sticking with me and being flexible. So let's dive right in. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Elise Smith. I'm mom of three, started my first business online in June of 2022 and hit six figures in less than 6 months in that business. So I know a thing or two about marketing. I know a thing or two about messaging and content creation. And I'm really excited because we talk a lot in my trainings about content and it converting and your offer and your branding, and all of those things go into play. But there's really two essential types of messaging that you need to convey in your content in order to make sales. So if you've been stuck in sales, maybe you're someone who's watching that hasn't made any sales at all. Maybe you're someone who's made a sale here or there, and you can't pinpoint exactly what's working, what's not working. I really hope that today you're going to get an understanding of the essential types of personal brand messages that you have to have in your content. And there is a way to connect those two types of messaging into your content, into each and every piece that you put out into the world. Okay. So stick with me till the end. And again, if for some reason you're just joining in or you join in late, the replay of these lives trainings do every week is always in my free Facebook community. So if you're not in there, you can click my Stand Store no matter where you're watching and jump in there. It's absolutely free. And I do tons of trainings in there. And that's people in my group are the first to know anything that I drop, release, any masterclasses, all the things. So I want to first start out by talking about the importance of your personal brand messaging. Okay. It's really important that people know your story, right? Because your story is what makes you different. It's what makes you unique. So if you're someone who is no matter what you're selling, okay, no matter what you're selling, there's probably someone out there selling either the same thing or something very similar, especially those of you that are on my TikTok channel. My TikTok is a lot of people that are in MRR, affiliate, PLR, all of that. Someone out there has the same thing as you, okay? And that's okay, right? We have, how many different types of tennis shoes do you buy? How many different sunglasses do you buy, right? Those brands aren't selling anything different. It's about the brand and the story, and the product and the customer service. And a lot of things go into the reason that you buy what you buy from who you buy it. But it's really important that you know your personal brand story, okay? And it's also really important that when you're telling your story, you are talking about the impact and being super clear and consistent in your messaging and why it matters, okay? So you very often hear me talk in my trainings, in my content, in my emails, doesn't matter, whatever kind of communication you get from me about why I started my business, okay? And some of you might be brand new. We always have new people, especially on TikTok, that have never seen me before. It's part of the reason that my brand name is spelled the way it's spelled, right? Awesome is spelled AUSOME. And that is part of my story. That's part of my journey. That's part of why I started my business. I told you a few minutes ago, I started my first business online in June of 2022. And I was at a 9-to-5 before I started my business. Okay. I'd always been a side hustle girl. I'm not going to lie. Always been a side hustle girl. So, I mean, I have done everything from sell hair bows to I used to do when, Crickets first came out. I did a lot of vinyl stuff. I've done shirts, even though this one's extremely wrinkly. I have printed shirts. I mean, I have done all the side hustles. But when I truly went into my first business full time as an entrepreneur and left my job, I knew it would be very important for me to have my personal brand and my personal story be a part of that. And I'm not telling you have to go create some big brand name or some logo like I have, but it is really important that you know your story and you share it. And it makes that connection and that trust building with your audience. It also allows people to self-identify in your content. And that's really, really important. When people can self-identify in your content, and what I mean by self-identify is when they can watch your content and they can say, she's talking to me, only me. When you can make your audience feel like they're the only person in the room, that is when they self-identify in your content, and you don't have to do convincing. You don't have to be salesy. You don't have to go in your content and tell people how many modules your course has or how many, community calls. None of that will matter because they're watching your content and they feel like she's talking to me. I'm the only person that matters. So when you are able to share your story in your content and that personal brand story that you have, why you started your business, what your mission is, what your offer is, when you're able to convey that message, people will self-identify and you won't have to worry about making sales because people are going to watch your content and say, she's talking to me, she has a solution, I want it, I want in, okay? So the importance of your messaging is your personal story. And the reason it matters is, one, defined key messages help differentiate your brand in a noisy world. So there's 1,000 people on social media, if not more, selling what I sell, right? There's coaches, there's mentors, there's people selling digital marketing courses. There's people that do, one-on-one calls like I do. That's not unique. But people partner with me because of my messaging, right? They could go choose to get a one-on-one call with anyone else out there doing the same thing as me. But why do they choose me? It's my messaging. And it's the same for you, right? It's going to help differentiate you in a noisy world. And if you don't know how to tell your story, you don't know how to share your story, if you don't know what your brand story is, that is something you need to be working on immediately. Okay, immediately. Because if not, you're not going to stand out. You're going to blend in. And you can blame the algorithm. You can say you're shadow banned. You can have all the excuses in the world. But if you're not standing out, you're blending in and no one's going to buy your stuff. No one's going to buy your offer. No one's going to partner with you because you don't look any different than anyone else. Okay. So it's really important you understand that. And we talk a lot about branding. A lot of my content and curriculum inside my Social Success Club is really focused on branding because it's key, right? And another reason your messaging matters is the role of repetition in marketing is so important, okay? Marketing is all about iteration. It's all about saying the same thing over and over and over. And your message, your brand story needs to be in every piece of content that you share. And if your story isn't consistent, then your messaging is not memorable. Okay. It's not memorable. And you have it as a marketer, it is your job to make your branding so strong, people remember you. Okay. People remember you. And I want to say that I'm a master at this to a certain extent. And I know that I am. I don't like to ever come on here and say, that I'm the it when it comes to something, but people know my brand. They do. So much so that every time something teal, this color, okay, comes across someone's feed, I get messages all the time of people sending me DMs saying, you need this purse because it's your color. You need this car because it's your color. My messaging and my branding is so strong that people identify me with a color. That's crazy, right? But it makes you memorable. And it makes people not only remember what you are and who you do, but how you made them feel. Okay. And we're going to get into that here in a second with the power of storytelling. So I actually did an entire live like specifically dedicated to storytelling a couple weeks ago. You can go to my Facebook group, Socially Awesome Entrepreneurs, and search the word storytelling and it will pull. But I did an entire training on that. So make sure you watch that if that's something you're struggling with. If you're struggling with how to tell your story, how to share your story authentically, you have to nail that down. Okay. But there's two types of messages when it comes to your content. And there's emotional messages and there's technical messages. And we're going to break these down, okay, so that you can understand it. But the power of storytelling is, really just diving in and making those people self-identify like we talked about. And, there is a claim that you are 20 times more likely to be remembered because of a story that you shared, right? So let me know in the comments if you can say this is true for you. But if you've watched a piece of content with someone sharing a story, you might not remember their name. I hope you do, but you might not remember their name, but you remember the story that they told. You remember saying, man, that's happened to me. Or you remember saying, oh man, I can't imagine what I would do if that happened to me, right? You have seen a piece of content out there that is storytelling that you've self-identified with. You either empathized with that person, maybe you related to them because of the story, right? Stories are the it when it comes to marketing, okay? There's a neuroscience behind storytelling. It engages multiple parts of the brain. I'm not a neuroscientist, but it does. It engages multiple parts of the brain because when you're watching a story, you are either going, oh man, that sucks. I feel so bad for them. You're empathizing, right? Maybe you are excited for that person. Maybe they're sharing a story of success and you're like, oh man, I've been watching this girl for 3 years and I'm so excited for her. She finally got XYZ, right? So you have to know how to tell stories in your content. It's so important. And we just actually talked about this a little bit today on my club call as well, because every topic that you bring to content for your business, you need to have a storytelling version of that, of why that's important to your ideal client. Okay. Humans crave stories. Stories release oxytocin. Okay. They make people happy. They build trust. They build empathy. They build connection. If I go into my story about when I first started my business and tell about, my son with autism, and how I was having to pass up therapy options for him because I had a 9 to 5. They would call. I'm sitting at my desk at work. They'd call and say, hey, we have a occupational therapy opening today at 11. Can you get here? And I would say, I have a meeting at 11:30. I can't. I have to pass, right? If I shared that story, there's an autism mom out there or a special needs mom out there, or even just a mom that missed out on something for her kid that relates to that story, right? That builds trust, that builds empathy. You would remember me because of that story. You need to highlight, the role of human connection in your stories as well. So when you're sharing stories in your content, you're being human. You're humanizing your brand and other humans. Where does money come from, right? Everyone wants sales. Everybody's like, I need more sales. I need more sales. I need more sales. Where does the money for those sales come from? It comes from humans, right? It comes from people. So you have to be a person in your content that they can relate to. People buy from people, right? They buy from people. So when you're storytelling in your content, you're humanizing your brand, you're becoming more relatable, and people are connecting and self-identifying in your content. And that makes them want to work with you, okay? And I know you're sitting there and you're going, well, I don't have a success story yet. I haven't made all those huge screenshots yet. I don't have it. You have a story. There's a reason you started. There's a struggle that you have overcome that someone else is trying to overcome right now. Your story does not have to be, here's how I went from, 0 to 100,000 the first month. Because I'll be honest with you, when you start telling stories, even if they're true, that seem unrealistic, people put their guard up, right? They protect themselves. Someone on TikTok asked me, tell your story. Do you repeat the story in different versions? So I like to, when I'm telling stories in my content, I like to pull out pieces that are relevant, right? So if I'm creating a piece of content about how I took my business to 6 figures in the first 6 months. I might not go all the way back and talk to you about how I, sat at my desk and contemplated starting for months and had a gut feeling in my stomach that I knew I was meant for more. Like, I might not go that in depth, but I'm going to pull out pieces of my story that are relevant to that piece of content. Okay. So you don't always have to tell the whole story. I mean, definitely don't lie. Don't, customize your story to the person. Make sure that it's the same story and you're consistent with it. But you don't always have to tell every single bit and piece of the story. Okay. So the most important thing you need to know when we dive into these 2 types of messages is that storytelling needs to take a play in all of them. All right. So the first type of messaging that you need to drive sales in your business is emotional messaging. Okay. Emotional messaging matters for a couple different reasons. One, people buy emotionally first, and then they rationalize with logic. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of this. If I'm selling health and wellness products, I'm selling health and wellness supplements, right? And maybe I have a supplement that helps people with their appetite so they can lose weight. Emotionally, if I create an emotional piece of content and emotionally connect with that person in my content about how here we are, it's June and everyone's going to the beach with their kids. And you're that mom that still doesn't want to take her shorts off and go swimming and be in her bathing suit with her kids because she's still, she's mad at herself that she didn't lose weight earlier this year. And maybe she has tried everything and feels like a complete failure, feels like something's wrong with her. It'll never happen for her. Like, I'm making that emotional connection with her. People buy emotionally first. And they rationalize with logic. Okay. So then once that person's connected to me and I've made that emotional connection with them, she'll rationalize with logic. Well, I've tried everything else. Might as well give this a try. Okay. I've seen the before and afters. It seems to be working for other people. Maybe it'll work for me. Like, those kinds of pieces of logic come after the emotional connection. You have to have emotion and symptoms in your content, the symptoms of the problem. All right. This is part of the reason why you keep posting that content that's like, and I don't care what, I'm feeling bold today. I don't care what community you're in, what affiliate product you're selling, what platform, you're promoting, and other people are telling you, go out there and make a video that says, are you tired of living check to check? You just need Wi-Fi in 2 hours. Stop doing that. Stop freaking doing that. Okay? Stop. That's not about, there are very few people in here that don't live check to check. I mean, there's and not to mention, it's not emotionally connecting them to you. Okay? It's actually just like waddling in their pain. All right? So explain that people buy emotionally first and they rationalize with logic. So I'll give you another example. A car dealership, right? You go to a car dealership. What's the first thing that they want to do? What's the first thing they want to do? They want to get you in that car. They want to get you in that car. They want you to drive that car first. Before we talk numbers, before we talk financing, before we talk what kind of tires it has, what kind of brakes it has, any of that. They want to get you in that car first. They want you to drive that car, feel incredible in it. Envision yourself driving up to your 9 to 5 with this brand new car and all your coworkers going, like, that's what they want. They want you to see yourself in it. Okay. That's what you have to do in your content virtually. Okay. Very important. So it's really, really, really important that you understand that, why emotional messaging matters. You have to share personal stories that relate to your audience. So when you're telling your stories in your content, you have to make sure it relates to your audience, why it matters to them. People are really wired to be selfish. Okay. Humans are wired to be selfish. So it's, why does it matter to them? I said this a couple times last week, and I've said this a couple times in the last couple weeks doing one-on-one calls, but I see a lot of content, and at the end, people's call to action is, when you're ready to start your business, drop XYZ in the comments. Okay. No one is ready to start their business. Okay. Hold on one second. I've got somebody on TikTok that I need to block because this is just getting ridiculous. Okay. All right. Whew. I love the block button, y'all. It's like my absolute favorite button in the world. Okay. So it's really important that you're sharing personal stories that relate to your audience. It's really, really, really important, right? But not only to them, but their desires. So stop in the end of your content, stop making a call to action. It says, when you're ready to start your business, when you're ready to learn digital marketing, comment me. No, they're not. No one's ever going to be ready for that. You need to speak to their desires. When you're ready to solve that problem, when you're ready to achieve this desire, when you're ready to, fulfill that desire, drop me in the comments. Do you see the difference there? Right? And sharing personal experience and stories that relate to them in your content emotionally. So letting them know, when I did XYZ, I stopped feeling XYZ, right? So I could say, when I started putting a rinse and repeat content strategy into my business, I stopped feeling exhausted, or I stopped feeling constant content fatigue, right? So then the person that's feeling content fatigue right now, the person that is overwhelmed with content creation, the person that is exhausted from making new videos every day is going to connect with me. It's a personal experience, something that I achieved, that I've overcome, right? That's a personal story. And then in that content, I would share how I got to that point, right? I used to do this and it caused me overwhelm. It caused me fatigue. It made me feel like I was constantly creating content. It made me burnt out. And then I found, when I started rinsing and repeating, I got this, what your ideal client's desire is. That is how you storytelling your content, okay? You have to make sure that your stories not only relate to them, but they relate to your offer. Okay. So that's another big mistake that I see people making in storytelling content, is that they're just sharing a story that's not relevant to their offer. Well, of course, it's not going to drive sales. If I come on here and tell you a story about how I was in the Dominican Republic all week and got to play on the beach and whatever, you're going to watch that content and be like, why does that matter to me? Right? People are wired to be selfish. What's in it for me? But if I make a piece of content that shares how I was in the Dominican Republic all week, I didn't create any content because my content's planned a month in advance because of my rinse and repeat strategy, that might actually interest you, because you're going to be like, holy crap, the last time I was on family vacation, I spent the whole day on my phone trying to create reels. So you have to make sure that your stories relate to your audiences and their problem and their desires, okay? You also want to make sure that you are bold and you create that vision in the story, right? And this is hard for people that haven't made a lot of sales or haven't had a lot of success yet, because they often feel like, well, I'm not successful enough to share my story yet. I'm not successful enough to talk about this. No matter how many sales you've made in your business yet, you were 10 steps ahead of someone, right? 10 steps ahead of somebody. Why are you not talking to that person? Why in your content are you talking to your peer? Right? If you are comparing yourself to someone who started a year ago and all your content looks like their content, you're not talking to your ideal client anyway. So you have to create that vision for that person you used to be, or whoever your ideal client is. But 9 times out of 10, your ideal client is who you used to be. Okay. It's also really important to share like the different, your opinion and beliefs in your emotional content, in your personal story content, in your personal branding content. Okay. And you're going to piss people off. They're going to make nasty comments, like old dude that was in the comment section on TikTok here a minute ago that I just blocked. But they're going to make comments. There's going to be people that are going to comment and say you're lying. There's going to be people that comment and say it's a scam. There's going to be people that comment and say, show me the proof. People have asked for screenshots of my bank account before. Like that, it's always going to happen. You're going to make people angry. Okay. But your job as a marketer is to change someone's perspective, to change someone's thinking. Because when you can change their thinking, and this is why marketing is mostly psychology, when you can change someone's perspective, that's when they can self-identify in your content, and that's when they will make a buying decision. So the first type of content you really have to have is emotional connected content. Okay. And I recommend having at least one personal message for each one of your core values. If you don't have core values in your business, you need to go back to the drawing board. You need to have values in your business because they're going to drive you. And so much of your business is going to test your integrity. It's going to test your values. You need to know what those are. Because when you don't, that's when you let shiny object syndrome get the best of you. That's when you let imposter syndrome get the best of you. I'll give you an example of this. So one of Socially Awesome's values is integrity. It's a huge core value for me. Huge core value for me. Okay. And when I see pieces of content that are performing really well for other people, because I get ideas just like everyone else. If it makes me feel cringy, if I can use that word, if I watch it and I'm like, I don't like that. That's not telling the whole story. Or, ooh, that's bad. I wouldn't share that. Right? I know from my business's value that I ain't doing it. I'm not doing that. That's not good. I don't like it. It's not good business. Not doing it. Right? Could I make more money posting clickbaity style videos? Probably. I could probably get 10 times more leads into my funnel. But I absolutely refuse to do it. I won't do it. I don't want to be clickbaity. So you need to know your values because they will drive your ship as your business. Okay. They will also come across in your emotions, in your content, and build connections with people. All right. So again, messaging number one is emotional, and you need to make sure that you're really elaborating on the symptoms of emotional connection. So what does it feel like for people, right? Instead of just saying, I know you're tired of living check to check. What does that actually feel like for them? Because for you, it might feel different than it does for me or someone else. What does it feel like for them? Financial freedom, time freedom. We see these words being thrown all over. What does financial freedom actually look like for your ideal client? What does time freedom look like for your ideal client? Because a 30-year-old stay-at-home mom and a 60-year-old empty nester, financial freedom doesn't look the same to them. So when you're so broad and you're not talking to the symptoms and emotions in your content, it's landing on deaf ears. Okay. The second type of messaging you need to have for your personal brand is technical messaging. Okay. And technical messaging provides like logical substance to the emotional messaging. Now, the real winner here is when you can connect these two types of messaging into your content, okay, into one piece. These aren't like, oh, today I'm going to post emotional, tomorrow I'm going to post technical, okay? When you can combine these, that is when you will see a win. That is when you will start to see sales, okay? But technical messaging rationalizes your audience emotional decisions. And I'll give you an example of this, okay? I love giving examples. So maybe I do a piece of content about my rinse and repeat content strategy. Okay. So I make that emotional connection in the beginning. So I say, the real reason you are, struggling to create content for your business that drives sales is because you are on the content hamster wheel. And I go in and make that emotional connection. I say, you're burnt out. You feel like you're on your phone 24/7. You're supposed to be watching a movie with your kids, but in actuality, you're over here hiding under the blanket, scrolling for constant content ideas and inspiration for your business because you just need that one piece of content that's going to bring sales. Like I am emotionally connecting with that woman, right? She watches that piece of content and she's like, oh my God, I've done that. I was watching movies with my kids and I'm on my phone the whole time, right? I make that emotional connection with her. And then whatever that piece of content is. Maybe I'm going to talk about my rinse and repeat strategy. Tell her how it actually works. Okay. What the steps are. At the end, I'm going to insert my technical messaging. So this is where it will allow her to logically understand when she does what I'm telling her to do in the content, she'll see the same result. You have to connect the two. Okay. So technical messaging, again, it rationalizes. So what this might look like at the end would be like, when you learn how to insert a rinse and repeat content strategy into your business, you'll finally be able to put that phone down, watch that movie with your kids, and know that sales are coming in. Lacey's asking my rinse and repeat. So my rinse and repeat content strategy is what I teach inside my academy. So I give you like my step-by-steps and how to execute it. And I help you build that in academy as well. But you need to have emotional and technical messaging in your content. Okay. So looking at technical messaging, supporting the information and evaluating and the buying decision. Because if you go and create a storytelling piece of content today about how in the last 6 months, you've made X amount of dollars in sales from this course, right? And you tell a story about how that's happened for you, but you don't have any technical messaging in that content, that person watching is not going to buy because they're not technically or logically understanding that if they do what you did, they can get the same result. That is you are missing one of two pieces in your content, either storytelling and emotion or the technical. Sometimes people are missing both. But if it does not make sense, when I watch your content, if it does not make sense to say, oh, wow, she's teaching me 5 tips to grow on TikTok. If I buy her TikTok Tactics Challenge, she's going to teach me how to do the same thing. Like, if it doesn't direct to your offer, then of course you're not going to make sales. Example of technical. Okay, so Tammy's asking for it. So technical messaging is rationalizing that emotion, right? So, and how to fix it, how to solve the problem, how to solve the desire. So let's say I make a piece of content today that talks about 5 tips to grow on TikTok, right? Maybe it's an educational piece of content. And I make the emotional connection with you in the beginning of the video. I say, I know you're frustrated on TikTok. You're stuck in 200 view jail. You're scrolling for hours of ideas. You're overwhelmed. You're frustrated. I make the emotional connection. I go into the content. I give you my tips. Tip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And my technical messaging would be at the end. So I would say, when you learn how to put the 5 tips I just taught you into your business, you will start to see XYZ. So you'll start to see desire. So growth on TikTok, sales on TikTok, whatever that is, right? But I am putting the pieces of the puzzle together to let people know I didn't just throw these tips out here for you. I am teaching you that so that, it leads to my offer. I hate to tell you guys, but every piece of content I put out on social media is geared towards making sales in my business. I don't run a nonprofit. You may, but I don't. Right? So everything is strategy. You have to have a strategy. And that is part of the reason you're not seeing sales in your content. Even if your messaging is amazing, if it's not strategically leading people back to buy your offer, people don't just buy to buy, right? So you have to make the emotional connection in the beginning, and then the technical messaging is what leads them to say, oh, so if I buy her thing, I will get this result. That is where I see so many people missing the mark. So many people missing the mark because they're not putting the technical messaging in the correct way. So I see a lot of people putting technical messaging in for the idea of like, I did a content audit for someone a couple weeks ago, and everything was like, when you get into this community, you get weekly live calls, you get, 50 modules, you get all your emails are done for you. They think that's the technical messaging. Okay. That is the features of what you're selling, right? And I don't know about you. I'll give you another example other than the car, but like, let me say I'm going to go to Best Buy and buy a TV, right? I look at the wall and I look and pick out which one has the prettiest picture, right? I mean, I don't know. I haven't actually bought a TV in a store in a long. I buy if it's not online, I probably don't own it anymore. But you get what I'm saying. You go and you look at, or a couch. Maybe you're going to look at a couch. You're going to sit on them, right? Do you read the card and see what's the thread count on the sofa, right? Do you read the card and see how much stuffing it has in it? Probably not. You sit your ass on it and you say, I like this one. If you're like me, you lay on it, right? I want to take a nap on this couch. I'm going to lay on it, see if I like it, right? So the technical messaging is leading people to say, you'll get this comfort when you buy this couch. So the same thing in your content. You will get XYZ, what their desire is, when you do XYZ. Buy my thing, buy my offer, take my tips, whatever your piece of content is. Your technical messaging cannot be, you'll get weekly live calls. When you're ready to start your business, let me know. No one is ready to start their business. Please stop saying that. No one is ready. No one will ever be ready. When you're ready to achieve desire, let me know. Okay? So that you got to get better at that technical messaging. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to integrate these before we end, okay? Because again, when you can put these two pieces of the puzzle into each piece of your content, you're kind of compounding your content. So when I'm able to make an emotional connection and a technical connection with you in each piece of content I put, you are taking steps out of the buying process. So we all know the marketing rule of 7, right? People need to see your stuff 7 times in order to buy. I think it's more like 14 these days because everything's gotten to be so short form. But when you're able to put the two pieces of this puzzle together in each piece of content, you can take some of those steps out. People won't need to, see you so much or, watch so much of your content because you're going to make an emotional and a technical, a logical connection with them in every piece of content. All right. So when you're integrating these two, emotional and technical messaging, it's like the power duo. All right. So it creates balanced and a compelling content. It makes you an authority. If you're not showing up as an authority in your content, of course, no one's going to buy from you, right? If you're showing up meek and bland and not different and you're blending in, why would people choose you? You probably wouldn't choose you. Okay. So when you can combine these, it prevents your messaging from sounding wishy-washy and it makes it inspiring and substantiated. So I talked about this. I did a whole TikTok on this a while back. I might have even put it on Instagram, but how motivation doesn't pay the bills, right? Unless you're a motivational speaker. But I see so much content that's like, you can do it. Keep going. You got this. You might not have made a sale yet, but keep going. 6 more months. That is not going to pay your bills, guys. Not going to pay your bills. Okay. But when you can make that emotional connection, so what you're saying in your motivating content with them, but also have technical messaging to where people are like, okay, if I work with her, I'm going to get a result. Then you're inspiring them to take action and you're substantiating it with a reason. Okay. So if you're just out here to motivate people for likes and follows and cheers, you're going to have an audience of cheerleaders, not an audience of buyers. And again, I'm not a nonprofit. So I got to feed my family. That's how it works. And you do too. Okay. You don't want to build an audience of cheerleaders. I've done it. And it's hard to get out of. Okay. It's very hard to get out of. And I say this is probably the most transparent I've ever been about this. So I'm glad you're watching, if you're watching. And this is just me being really, really honest, not me being ugly or whatever. But when you build an audience of cheerleaders and then you finally learn how to convey your messaging for sales better, people get angry. Okay, people get angry. When I first started this TikTok channel that I'm live on right now, which I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, but I would do like free content audits and stuff like that. And it was amazing. And I loved it. And I grew this massive community very quickly. And I still love it. But then when I started charging for audits because I had hundreds of requests a week, people got angry. People got angry, really angry. And it got to a point where I was like, I can't serve everyone. I'm only one person. There's only so many hours in the day, right? So I challenge you that if you're just building an audience of cheerleaders right now, that you really take a peek at your business. Because one, you're devaluing yourself a little bit, okay? And two, if you don't start letting people know that you are an authority and you are worth paying for, they're never going to pay for anything. Okay. So like I said, I mean that with love. I mean that to teach you not to make the same mistakes that I've made. Okay. It's really important. Really important. And I still do a lot of free value. Like I go live weekly. I give tons of tips and tricks. I have so many free resources, 2 years worth of free resources for everyone. But your time is valuable. Okay. So again, the power duo. Learn how to put these together in your content and you'll start to see a result. And it will also make your marketing like a magnet. Okay. So when your marketing is magnetic, it's going to attract those people to you who see value in your messaging, and it's going to repel the people who don't. And again, that's important. It is equally important to repel the people that don't value you and that aren't going to buy your offer and that you don't want to work with, as it is to attract the ones that do. Okay. So your marketing needs to be magnetic. And I did an entire 1-hour training on this as well. You can get in my free Facebook community, Socially Awesome Entrepreneurs, search the word magnetic. It's going to pull up for you. But the only way to make your marketing magnetic is to be bold, to be different, to have your unique brand story, share it often, and to have a freaking opinion. Okay. Have an opinion. Yes. Socially Awesome Entrepreneur. It's spelled AUSOME, but it's in my stand store. When the live's over, if you go to my stand, you scroll to the bottom, it's got a direct button to join my community. You have to have an opinion. When all of your content is the same 5 tips to grow on TikTok, you're basically just Google. You're just basically showing people that you know how to Google or you know how to use ChatGPT. Start having an opinion and start sharing it, even if it makes people angry. Because I can tell you this, you do have opinions, whether you share them or not. You have them. And there is nothing worse than you being surface level in your content, bringing a client in or bringing a client on. And then when you finally open up and be your real self to that client, and they're like, this is not the girl I signed up to work with. So you're better off sharing your opinion vocally now. It's going to attract people to you that want to work with you, and it's going to repel the people that don't. Okay. Another way to be a magnet with your marketing is being very specific. Okay. Very specific. Now, I'm not telling you go create a piece of content that says I only work with girls that were born in December that are 44 with blonde hair, blue eyes, and 5'3", like that, not that specific, but you need to be more specific on the psychographics of your content. Okay. Stop creating content that says, if you want time freedom, you need to get into digital marketing. And this is, when you join this course with me, you're going to get this and this and this. No. And I don't care what community you're in and who's telling you to do that. Stop doing it. It's obviously not worked. Okay. You need to be more specific. What does time freedom look like for your ideal client? For me, time freedom looks like the ability to pack up and go to the Dominican Republic this week. I just got back at like midnight last night. I could work while I'm there if I wanted. I don't have to worry about, taking PTO. Don't have to worry about asking off. I didn't have to nickel and dime to death. So that would be my version of financial freedom. I didn't have to say, oh, we can't rent that golf cart because it's like $75. Like that used to be my life. That's financial freedom for me. For someone else, financial freedom looks like having millions in the bank. Okay. Time freedom for them might look like never working at all. Good luck with that. But passive income still requires active work. Okay. You have to be more specific in your content. And when you don't know your branding, you don't know your ideal client, you don't know your messaging, you don't know your story, there's no way for you to do that. Start being more specific. Your message is not meant for everyone. Magnets don't attract everything, right? If I put a magnet up to a piece of plastic, right? Okay. When you're being magnetic, we want to only attract the people you want to work with and the people you can help. That's very, very, very important. That's another hard lesson that I've learned in business that I will share with you. Only try to attract the people that you can help. And if you can't help someone, be honest about that. Okay. Let them know this is not for me. This is not, or this is not for you. I don't think it's the best fit that we work together. Make a recommendation for them to work with someone else. Don't be afraid to turn someone down. I know in your mind, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to lose a sale. But I promise it's going to save you some stress in the long run. It's really important that you understand that. Okay. All right. So I want to recap, and then I'm going to answer any questions that we have. Recapping this: storytelling, emotional messaging, technical messaging. It's really important that you understand all of these, and thinking about your own personal brand message and how you can refine it, how you can put it into your content. Okay. It's really, really, really important. And if you can put it all together in every piece of content that you share, you will start seeing more sales. Okay. You'll start seeing more sales. So I want to invite you to work with me, and then I'm going to come through and answer any questions that we had. But if you've not already checked my programs, I do have 2 main programs. The Social Success Club. It's a monthly mentorship membership program. In the club, we have weekly calls with me where I work with you on your content, your messaging, your branding, all of the things that we talked about today. Okay. So if any of this is something that you're struggling with and that you want more elaboration, you want more guidance on, the club is for you. Everything's in my stance where you can check that out. I also have my academy. So my academy we have a 2.0 version now, and it's a 6-month group coaching program with me. The academy is geared more towards that person that's made sales, but they're looking to rinse and repeat so that they can scale those sales to bigger months, bigger cash months, right? So if you haven't made any sales yet, you're still trying to get clear on these things we talked about today, the club is for you. If you are someone who's made sales, but you're ready to go to $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 months, the academy is more for you. Okay. So I'm going to go through and answer any questions that we have. And I don't think we have any questions on Facebook or Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys bye. And I will see y'all next Wednesday at noon. And I'm going to go ahead and answer the questions on TikTok. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want more information about club, you can drop club in the comments on Facebook or Instagram, or academy. You can drop academy in the comments as well. So I'll see you guys next Wednesday.